Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and I wanted to give you guys a quick update on the starter builds that I posted just before the start of the actual Synthesis League, as well as the character I chose to play, which is the Divine Ire Inquisitor, the 5th build on the starter build list. So far I've heard that all of the starters are pretty solid in what they set out to do and achieve, and that is get you started in the game with pretty minimal currency and hopefully trying out some of the new skills in a few of those builds. The Double Strike Gladiator, as always, still going to be quite meaty and good for a melee character, and it's taking care of business in the Nexuses and Memories, and scales pretty well for a melee character. Essence Drain as a trickster is very solid and doing good work on the life-based side of things. As well as that, I've heard very, very many good things about Bane and Soulrend, so feel free to try those out if you're just sticking to Essence Drain. Bane looks like it's just farming maps hard, and Soulrend, apparently, once it scales well enough with some cast speed, the GMP, and just good damage, it ends up being very fun and very clear efficient too. You then got Ice Nova, which is going to be a bit of a tough start if you're going for the CI side of things, but aside from that, Ice Nova is supposedly quite nice with the new Unleash gem. You can throw out so many more Ice Novas that way, and in general, quite a lot of spells are very nice with the Unleash. And then there's also Flame Totem Chieftain, which has been, pretty damn solid from what I've heard, because Flame Totem itself has some pretty good DPS numbers. Mechanically, it's fairly nice, and you can throw out 4 or 5 of those totems in your optimal setup, and apparently it's been going pretty well too. This character here, though, is my Divine Ire attempt at an Inquisitor, and it has been pretty solid as well. I got through to, the entire Act 10 game very smoothly off of pretty terrible gear, and the damage held up really nicely up until Kitava in Act 10. The actual boss fight itself went down pretty quick compared to what I'm used to on a lot of these starting characters. So the damage, I think, of the skill is definitely there. It's about figuring out the optimal setups and what type of gear, gems and all that we're going to be using. A lot of the time throughout this character, I was using cast while channeling with Wave of Conviction, and I still do use that quite frequently, but I'm more trying to lean towards standalone Divine Ire by itself. So my Divine Ire is on a 4-link with infused channeling, faster casting, and sometimes Fizz to Lightning, sometimes Energy Shield Leech, because I did end up converting, instead of Mind Over Matter, to Mind Over Matter with Eldritch Battery, so that I could reserve all of my mana with Hatred, Herald of Ice, and Herald of Ash. I feel like auras are going to be somewhat important in this build, and that's why I have gone ahead and done that instead of going the mana route. I'm casting entirely off of Energy Shield and then taking a bit of extra damage towards my Energy Shield using Mind Over Matter. And that does seem to be pretty efficient with the Inquisitor Ascendancy, because you're regenerating 200 ES a second based off of Pious Path, and that makes Energy Shield sustain pretty comfortable. So I'll show you guys how I've built the character so far and what I've learnt about Divine Ire, but it's not too much to report just yet. So my character currently is level 81, called Zana Filder, and it is an Inquisitor, and it is primarily trying to be built around Divine Ire, which is my current right click. It is the laser beam that takes a bit of time to charge up, has 20 stacks, and then unleashes in one big laser beam. And as you can see here, that's what you look like when you get your 20 stacks. You glow a very shiny, golden, Super Saiyan-ish type thing. And then you unleash with a huge beam, like so. I am currently using Castful Channeling every now and again, like I mentioned. The 4-link for Castful Channeling is simply Divine Ire, Infused Channel Support, Castful Channel, and Wave of Conviction. But you can do plenty of other stuff. Glacial Cascade I've been messing around with, Arc. You can probably do plenty of other stuff like Ball Lightning, Ethereal Knives, Blade Fall, but I don't really have dexterity requirements for those. And I'm sticking to Wave of Conviction for now because it does help with elemental resistance negativity from the exposure stuff, since I don't yet have my inevitable judgment node. But if you're just going for plain old Divine Ire, that's totally fine too. You just stack up 20 times and then boo. And the way that area scales this build is not necessarily making the beam any thicker or longer or anything like that. It's the little tendrils that help stack up your beam go out further away from your character. So you start out by, you can see the little zaps and tendrils all around the screen at the moment. That's what increased area does for this skill, and it does make channeling the beam and actually map clearing a lot smoother. So I think area scaling is pretty important on this skill. You start charging up and it means you can hit enemies like over here with the tendrils, and it does make for a more defensive playstyle, and as well as that gives you just faster charging of your actual big boy single target against the rares and stuff that you're firing off against. The actual damage of the skill has been pretty damn nice once it's charged up. Once you get a nice crit, then the single fire actually can one-shot most rares and chunk bosses quite healthily too. And this is with some pretty pathetic gear across the board. Plenty of it I still haven't upgraded from very early levels. The only thing I've really done is buy an amulet and a ring that looks rather okay. Besides that, yeah, not really doing anything special, and still on a 4-link quite comfortably. But that said, looking at the numbers on Path of Building, this may end up being a pretty chunky spell. If I just sub in Divine Ire into my Ice Nova Occultist on Delve League, I can start hitting for 1.5 million on the 20 stacks. Once you get your 20 stacks up, the 20 stack beam can hit for apparently about 1.5 million on an average hit. And that's pretty crazy. That's going to phase Shapers and Uber Elders and stuff like that. So it looks like the potential for this one is there in damage, but it's going to take a bit of work with the absolutely zero gear I currently have. So we'll see, but so far up to like tier 5 maps I've been totally fine, and it's been very fun. When I first picked it up I was cackling like an idiot because it actually was one of the just most outrageous and fun things I've done or used on a skill in quite a while in PoE. So the way I've built it otherwise though is I started with Sanctuary because the mana regen really feels nice at the low levels, and then picked up Pious Path so you can get good cast speed, and that's when the energy shield regen starts to feel really good, and having Consecrated Ground like basically permanently feels quite nice too. And then we're going towards the penetration, or rather resist ignore node, which should be a huge damage boost once I get it. I was toying around with the idea of mana and mind over matter, and ultimately I thought going just a few extra points up to Eldritch Battery instead of investing in mana yielded us more results. And then you still pick up mind over matter because Energy Shield now acts as your mana, and so you are still taking a bit of extra damage from your life towards your Energy Shield, but you do need a little bit of Energy Shield from your gear and stuff like that to actually sustain this sort of thing. So I currently have 800 Energy Shield, which isn't a huge amount, and I'm going to aim for something like 1500 maybe, but that is allowing us to reserve all of my mana on Hatred, Herald of Ice, and Herald of Ash. You can still use something like Herald of Purity as well, Wrath and Zealotry. I've been messing around with all of those. Currently, I think this is my best setup. These two help quite a little bit for clear as well. But you can see that Energy Shield sustain while casting is ridiculously easy because you do get 200 Energy Shield regen a second from Pious Path, and then that does also enable things like our Energy Shield Leech support, which I've been messing around with. So when I'm going pure single target, or rather pure Divine Ire at the moment, I am running faster casting and Energy Leech on top of Infused Channeling and Divine Ire. But I do encourage you guys to play around with the setup if you're going to play this type of character. Test out lots of Divine Ire, just pure sort of 4 links, 5 links, 6 links, and then also cast while channelings with different various spells. We are primarily based off of physical and then converting to lightning, and that does mean that you can use things like Wave of Conviction, Bladefall, Blade Vortex, all kinds of other stuff as well to get plenty of conversion. And currently my conversion just sits at this node here, so I think I've got 65 lightning conversion, and I may start using as a 5th link Fizz to lightning. May end up dropping some of these nodes, not too sure. They are pretty efficient for damage, but I can still reroute my passive tree to gain more damage elsewhere, and I may end up doing that since it is very clustered. You do want a lot of this stuff, but maybe we want some other stuff like down here, nimbleness and Crackling Speed, the Throat Seeker. Getting over to the Shadow area is a lot of extra damage. So I'm still going to look into rerouting the passive tree, but for the time being, I'm pretty happy with this one, and just going to level up a bit more. But yeah, besides that, Divine Ire is going very well as a main skill. The only other thing I've really kind of wanted to do as a main skill is Stormburst, which is also pretty damn nice, but I'm leaning more towards Divine Ire. Stormburst looks like it does have potential once you've started to scale your area, your cast speed, and as well as that, you definitely want a bit of duration on the tree, and it clears really quite nice, and it also does have a decent single target. You grab some of this duration, you start using efficacy, and that means you have more balls when you charge up, and that means quite a bit more damage. So Stormburst is one you can definitely look into, as well as Divine Ire. The actual other skills too, Wave of Conviction and Purifying Flame, definitely capable of being self-cast too, but I'm trying to make these channel things work a bit more at the moment instead. So that's an update on my character. Hope your league start and all that is going rather well. I haven't messed around with the Nexus stuff too much. I've tried here or there, but Ziggity just released a very good video on that, and I do recommend watching that if you're struggling to find purpose in it, like I was too. And it looks like there can be some fun things, but overall it's a little bit clunky at the moment, and hopefully has a few quality of life upgrades here or there in the next week or two. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you next time.